and welcome to episode 5 of the Blues Focus podcast, airing every week on YouTube, Spotify and Apple Music. I'm Kieran, your host for this episode, and with me I've got Elliot and Dan. We're going to get straight into it, lads, starting with the midweek game against Charlton, the 1-1 draw. We'll come to you first, Dan. What were your opinions on it this week?
Thought it was a bit better than what we had shown in previous games, but again, the same thing that always costs us is we don't know how to put the ball in the back of the net first recently. And then just out of nowhere, I thought the tempo and everything was good, and we were creating chances. And then Hogan had the penalty, and then one of the worst rebounds I've ever seen. And then I thought that could be a bit of a turning point. I was a bit nervous then, and then their goal just came so poor. But we went a goal down, and then Camp kept us in the game. And then the last 15 minutes, we were pushing again, not really making the keeper do anything, which seems to be the story of our season. I think the keeper never has to get his gloves dirty against us. But fortunately, we just managed to nick one at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. What did you think, Elliot?
Well, I was doing the part of it, but it's in a better game. I think we were very lucky, and we could have been looking at a last day shootout with Luton. I think if we hadn't got that goal right at the end, that's how drastic things could have got. I think for us, and again, like we said earlier, the defending for the goal was just non-existent. I just don't understand how Harley Dean is not cutting that ball out. He seems to sort of drift towards the goal line, and then he sort of moves back out as if he's looking for a cutback. But there's a player right behind him. So I don't know. There's something drastically wrong with how we're defending, where it has been like that all season. So she got something out of it in the end.
Yeah, I think, again, it's the same old, wasn't it, with Blues, where we chased the game in the end to try and to salvage something when on the front foot for most of the first half. Like Dan said, Hogan's rebound, I'm pretty sure my 2-year-old would have put that away. You know, you just got to get over the ball from there. The keeper's on his arse still. You can't, there's no excuse for a player who was in the form he was in before the lockdown to be missing, or even not hitting the target from there. And I think as soon as we missed that penalty, it was just a sign of things to come, wasn't it? Just another lacklustre second half. Again, we got the padded stats. We had the possession. We had more shots. But it's all well and good us seeing these numbers from Blues, but we don't do anything with them. We don't do anything when we have these numbers. There's nothing there to justify us having 16, 17 shots, one goal to show from it in the 93rd minute, which, to be honest, was the only time Charlton looked like they defended like us. So we shouldn't have scored that.
No.
Realistically.
No, we shouldn't have scored that. And I said the other week, just statistically, again, sides just like Charlton will come to our place and just say, you have all the ball, you have the possession. Because like we say, in front of goal, we're pretty pitiful, to be honest. We just can't convert. Djukovic isn't a finisher. And Hogan, I don't know what's gone on with Hogan. Started so well when he came, and just hasn't seen shot since we've come back to football in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, it's Hogan's just gone right off the boil. It's you think if Hogan carried on the form, if he picked up where he left off, you'd like to think some of the chances we've had we'd be safe by now, because, like I say, that penalty miss, although I don't agree with Hogan not being the one to be given the penalty. I know that one of the lads in our WhatsApp group pointed out, Djukovic has scored and missed, I think, at 50-50 on his 4 penalties he's taken for us. But to give a player a penalty as a confidence booster in a must-win game, I don't think that's the smartest thing to do. And maybe it was decided on the training pitch, but then it didn't seem like he'd been practicing. He just put his foot through it. There was no sort of idea as he ran up to the ball what he was going to do. He just went for it. So I don't think there's been much practice.
And even if you got to put your foot through it, you got to put it down the middle, haven't you? You can't just put it at a perfect height for the keeper, because any keeper, if they dive that way, they were going to save that penalty.
I mean, it says something when you'd say that Charlton's probably if we're going to stay up, that's going to be the thing that swings it for us is Djukovic's goal. And even that performance, some players were better than previous weeks. But even then, like I say, padding the stats the way we did, nothing in it at the end of it. And nothing to show for these numbers. Again, just an abject performance, really. Personally, I didn't enjoy watching it. Even at 0-0 when we're on the front foot, usually most fans would think, oh, yeah, we've got to definitely get in 3 points today, the way we're playing so far. Yeah, you watch Blues play like that at 0-0 and you go, we're definitely going to lose this. But,
yeah, I think just looking at the team, the way it is, the threadbare squad that we have, that there's no help for the strikers from our midfield, and it's been like that all season. I think the next highest scorer after our two strikers is on 4 goals, which I think is Jude Bellingham, and I think then Pedersen after that. I think it just highlights the issues that we have. We haven't got enough goal threat throughout the midfield, and it was the same the other night. Dan Crowley's not a finisher. Bellingham's not a finisher. Gardner's definitely not a finisher. Sunjic 100% isn't a finisher. Yes, they can score the odd long-range goal, but if they are in advanced positions, which they don't tend to get into that often, they're not finishing it. They're not finishing any chances off. I think Dan Crowley's finishing he's good. He's a good passer. He can definitely create, but if he's on the edge of the box, he's not scoring. He's not scoring.
No, and then we followed the Charlton game up yesterday with an away defeat at Preston. Again, yeah, if you remember anything from it, because it weren't very memorable, what were your thoughts on it? Dan, to you again.
Well, we started off looking fairly solid, but just the same situation. Whenever we look solid, I almost feel even more nervous because I think, well, we haven't scored, and it's going to hurt even more when we concede now because we've had a solid start. And then, I'm sorry, but I don't care if they're a centre back or a striker or anything. We missed a real sitter in the second half. 6 yards out, was it Harley Dean headed it anywhere else, it's a goal, and he headed it straight at the goalkeeper. And obviously, we're waiting for. We need chances like that to drop for us, and we can't even score them at the minute. It's just poor. And, obviously it looks likely that Wigan will get a points deduction, but until then 12 points are off the table, we're in a relegation battle still. And some of them chances are the reason why. And then the second we don't score, it's like our heads drop and go, we ain't going to score. Let's just open up.
I mean, we will touch on the league table and obviously what we think for Wednesday night in a couple of moments. But obviously on the basis of the Preston game, you mentioned the Harley Dean miss, and I know one of the commentators on Blues TV says you want the chance falling for Djukovic from there. And to a certain extent, I want to say I disagree because Djukovic is brilliant in the air with his head. But you look at pretty much every single header I think I've ever seen him score for us. It's not an easy chance. He doesn't score the easy chances. You look at his looping header against Reading at home last season. His bloody header against Forest away is one that stands out as well. No striker should be scoring them headers, and he does. But then you look at him when we put it to him in the middle of the box, unmarked. How many of them have you ever seen put away?
Yeah, he puts him out of the bar, doesn't he?
So I don't think there's any player in our squad at the minute in that position, 6 yards out, that put that in the net yesterday. Easiest chance. I don't think I'd put my money on anyone to bury that.
No. I'd just say, I just want to back up what Dan said. Like, we start these games, we look quite organised. We look, everyone seems to sort of look like they know what they're doing. And then as soon as a goal goes in, their heads sort of drop a little bit. I think it's just it's a matter of confidence. There's no confidence in the side. There hasn't been any confidence in the side, I think, for a few months. And then, as soon as that goal goes in, I think they're just unable to. I don't feel like they feel they can get back into games. It's just really disappointing. Like even the defending in like the early stages of the first half, they're very static. I think that Jayden Stockley had a chance early on. Again, it was just two simple passes, a couple of yards between the striker and the midfielder, and they were in. And it's ridiculous. It is literally it's non-league level defending, and it was the same for the goal. The corner came in. No one's headed it out from the near post, and it's literally nearly bounced. That corner would have bounced if it hadn't hit the striker's foot and gone into the net. It would have bounced. That's just things that shouldn't be happening at professional level. So there's something seriously wrong. Well, it has been for a long while. So
yeah, talking about it, I don't know if it's just me. No, I know Dan says it as well. When we look organised, it's almost when I worry more about us. So go with this. We don't keep this up for 90 minutes. We never have done ever in the time I remember. Definitely not this season as well. Where we start a game well. You always expect us to lose focus and that sort of ability to keep frustrating teams. We always let it slip at some point. Fulham away, it took them till the last minute, but we still done it anyway. West Brom, we got the clean sheet and a point in the end, but even at the last minute, if they had that chance, didn't they, where if anyone put anything on it once from a knockdown, they'd have gone 1-0 up. I think something's wrong. Defensively, we don't set up right anymore. Players don't seem to know the role. They don't know what they're meant to be doing with or without the ball, by the looks of it, really. I fear for us on Wednesday. I really do. But yeah, let's move on to Wednesday anyway. Elliot, feeling positive?
How do I put this carefully? Well, no. No, I'm not confident. We might be able to scrape another point if we're fortunate. But again, I think we're just relying on other results to go our way on Wednesday, like we have done since sort of football restarted. We've kind of been looking for results to go our way, and we'll be doing the same on Wednesday, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Dan, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I said as soon as yesterday's game finished, I said, well, we're relying on other teams, aren't we? Because 13 games without a win is just shocking. And I don't see us ending it Wednesday. I think it'll be next season when we end it, when we've had a bit of a... Because we're just in a rut now, aren't we? We just can't get out of it. And we need a big change to start seeing wins again, I think. So, who knows? Let's hope. But to be honest, I think I'm focusing more on Leeds, Charlton and Luton, Blackburn.
Yeah, me too.
It's disappointing. I know me and Dan spoke about it on the last episode where, previous seasons we've been in the bottom three come the final day, and we know what we need to do, and we are still reliant on other results, but our players go out there with a sense of purpose and a bit of fight, and they know what they need to do. Whereas this year, it's completely the opposite, and we were, I won't say comfortable, but we should never have been. At the end of the lockdown, you'd never have thought us being dragged into a relegation battle on the final day, relying on not relying on ourselves as such. But yeah, here we are, and it's unfounded. And I just don't see any fight from any of the players to want to put this situation to bed and get it on and get it over with. I said to people earlier and after the game yesterday, you see Preston go and score, and rather than anyone try and fire them up, they just trudge off, just walk off, back off to kick off again. No communication, no fire, no one talking to anyone else and saying, right, come on, we need to go and get a goal. We need a point. A point would be enough with the goal difference, I think, compared to Luton's goal difference. But there was just absolutely no fight again. And I'm sick of it, to be honest. I am.
I know you say that that you couldn't see it coming, but I think as soon as we were 2-0 down early on to Hull, I think it was 2-0 down within the first 15 minutes. I think it was kind of at that point I kind of thought to myself, yeah, we're going to be in for a really tough sort of last day potentially here. And then the Huddersfield defeat on top of that, and then I just knew straight away that it was going to end up like this.
The problem is that you always assume the worst as a Blues fan. We do. We always, it's part and parcel of being a Blues fan, isn't it? Really, you can't have anything nice. You can't expect anything good because they'll soon prove you wrong. But just a bit of fight would be nice for once in a game. Just someone to take charge, and rather than leave it to a 17-year-old who's leaving at the end of the year. Yeah. You see from the kickoff, we give it to him and we get him to take on their whole squad at the minute to try and get us up the pitch. And it's like, you can't put that responsibility on a teenager. I'll get he's your most gifted player, technically, pretty much. But it's absolutely far-fetched to think that that's what we're relying on, is Jude Bellingham to pull a rabbit out of the hat when you've got 11 seasoned professional or 10 other seasoned professionals out on that pitch who've been there and done it with us, or in different situations. They know the game, but yet they just stand back and watch us go down the Swanner.
I think it'd be the most Birmingham City thing to happen for us to go down on 50 points, wouldn't it?
I think we were the last team to go down from the Prem for about 30 out of 30 in all, weren't we?
Yeah, we were. I think did we get close to 40 points, didn't we? And went down. Yeah. Still went down, didn't we? Yeah. So, again, just following the same model it has done for the last 10 years, isn't it? Really, it's just we've been so fortunate the last few seasons. Well, the last sort of 4 or 5 years, 6 years. I don't know how we can just keep getting this lucky all the time. So, yeah.
Your luck runs out eventually, that's the problem.
Of course it does. Yeah, of course it does.
You can't keep flirting with relegation.
No.
Eventually it's going to catch up with you, and I fear that this is the year that it does, because, like I say, in previous years, we've been in a situation and we know the players have shown they know what it takes to get us out of it. Whereas this year, we've literally capitulated and fell down into a relegation zone rather than, we've just let ourselves get dragged into it. And I don't see us getting out of it ourselves, and we can't rely on points deductions. Can't, because no one knows what's going to happen.
No, until then points are off the table, you can't think about it, can you? Because although it's likely it's going to happen, just what if they don't, or they get a reduced total? Because they're still appealing it, and although they've said it's never been won before, I just don't. Obviously, I'd probably think definitely if we weren't in that position we're in now, but I just don't know. There is a chance, isn't there?
There isn't it? Would you put it past the EFL hate us? I know they're not the ones making the decision, but I mean, ultimately, they can decide to put it back to next year. They could reduce the figure. They can do what they want with it, can't they? Really? And like Dan says, until you see them minus 12 on that board, you've got to assume that we are right in it on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And Blues fans might not agree with it. I think we deserve it this year. I think we really do deserve it.
We deserve it. Yeah,
we've got away with it far too many times, and to let ourselves get put in this situation again, this is what we've been asking for. Really.
Yeah, hopefully. I agree. I think. Well, where do you lay the blame? Where would you say you lay the blame for all of this? Like the last 3 or 4 years.
For me, it would be like obviously everyone knows that Dung hasn't covered himself in glory, and it is him to get rid of like Monk as well. Like getting rid of Rowett was bad enough from the ownership, but getting rid of Monk when it finally looked like we was back, at least showing pride in the performance and fighting for the shirts. That was another mistake, and it weren't just who they sacked, it was who they replaced with as well. So it's him, but also I can't take away from these players either. These players deserve just as much blame because the last year under Monk, whenever we're going, this is a great group of players. It only seems a great group of players when it suits them, if I'm being honest now, because there's been a few times, and a few of the players have been there for a few managers now. They're there under Cottrell. I know it's important who your manager is, but also surely the fans are important as well. And when it's not going right for them, I just don't see the fight to do it. It wasn't going right from under Gary Monk for spells. We went 8 without a win at the start and 5 losses in a row just around the points deduction. But they still kept trying. So what's different there?
Yeah, I agree.
Where do I lay the blame? It's an interesting question. And I'll try and keep it PC for the listeners, but I agree with Dan for a start off, and I said it before we started filming. The club is rotten. It's poisonous from the top down. Dong and TTR, I don't think they've got a decision right, have they, since they come in? They keep saying they listen to the fans when they appointed Monk, and they listened to the fans when they gave Redknapp his new contract in that summer and invested the money that ultimately lost us points, which was, the less said about that, the better. But again, and Dan says it went right for under Gary Monk and went wrong at spells, but even when it's going wrong at spells, in the 8 without a victory at the start of the season last year, and then we went and won at Leeds, but we should have won 50-60% of those games. Those 8 games, we were the better team in all of them. Again, it's just classic Blues, don't take your chances. And we get sucker punched with an equaliser or a late winner. But the players never let it get to them. Their heads never dropped. They had someone in that dressing room saying to them, right, come on, lads, pull yourselves together, we're better than this.
And Michael Morrison was there as well.
Yeah, a real captain's figure. Yeah. Someone who actually showed that fight at getting rid of him, or not. What did he want, a 2-year contract, and we only wanted to offer him 1, was it?
Yeah.
I'd have chewed grand off. I should give him a 2-year contract. And what are you messing around at? He's your captain. He's the first name on the team sheet every week. He must have been. He's the only one who had a bit of passion in some of those games towards the end of last year as well. What are the board doing? Messing around. What have you signed? What have we signed that's better? What have we got that's better? You're telling me right now, or could a Blues fan tell us right now that Michael Morrison wouldn't walk straight back into that lineup on Wednesday night?
I'd be straight back with that any day, wouldn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100%. The decisions from the board, TTA and Dong, have all been pointless. And you can even fast forward it right to now, the decision to give the power to Spooner and Gardner for these last few games. There's no Craig Gardner, Mr. Blue Nose and all that. passionate Blues fan from the age of 2 or whatever he was. I don't see any of it. This mystery, this fantasy story that Craig Gardner's going to fire the lads up. There's been none of it. We've gone the wrong way. Continued going the wrong way. I saw him during the drinks break yesterday. Stood there with his arms folded, just watching the lads take a drink when we're losing. Say something. Fire them up. You're the Blue Nose. You know what it means. You're in the position where you can tell them what you're seeing from the touchline. What are they doing wrong? What can they do to improve? How can you motivate them? Right, come on, lads. This means something. We need something. Go out there and get it. Run. Be the first to every second ball. Win your flick-ons. Chase it. There was none of it. Stood there with his arms folded. If that's the point, if that's the case, don't bother. Don't turn up. You're in the position now where you've got the power to literally manage and guide your team, your boyhood team, out of trouble. And you're not doing anything. And it... I don't often go on rants on it. But it just... Dan said, and I agree, should have gave it to Paul Robinson. To the end of the season, at least.
Or even if Spooner was to get involved, or even just as permanently. The thing about Paul Robinson for me is just he should have been in Gardner's position, I think, for these last few games, but he should be in Gardner's position in general. Gardner should be in... From what I've seen this season from Gardner, the old time he sat there, arms folded, not saying a word. I don't know if he don't think it's his place to, because he's not the manager. But Paul Robinson is a more... I don't know if it's because he also pally with all the players. I don't know, but I think Paul Robinson would have been more of a leader.
Is he scared to give his brother a telling off? Is that what it is?
Make Christmas awkward.
If that's the case, he should never have took a coaching job, should he?
No.
I'll just to make a quick thing I noticed. Was it a week or two ago? Didn't Paul Robinson do a podcast with? Cool.
Yeah.
Did anyone see that?
Yeah.
He didn't make a comment, but didn't they make a slight joke about the at sort of boardroom level what's going on? I think they were going in the right direction under Gary Rowett, and there was someone that made a bad decision in terms of getting rid of Rowett and sort of ruining that season. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that didn't go down very well.
Yeah, it could have been that. I mean, I remember watching it, and you could see that it was definitely more David Cottrell than Paul Robinson making the references, but you could see that although he's almost like refusing to agree, he wasn't really coming to the defence of the board either. So,
I mean, Who was it at the time? It was Panos was still in the role at the time, wasn't he? When Rowett went. And he got a lot of grief. Yeah. Got a lot of grief from the fans. You could, if you wanted to go that far back, you could say it goes all the way back to Rowett. But since Rowett, we have had some sort of, I don't want to say shoots of recovery, which sounds ridiculous considering we've still been a championship club. We should be doing much better than we had done. But we brought Gary Monk in. And like Dan says, you finally started to see some passion and some pride in the performance. The players wanted to play for Gary Monk. He knew how to get a tune out of them. If we lost the game, and Gary Monk, if we lost the game like we did yesterday at Preston, he'd have been the first to come out in his interviews and say, "I don't recognise them players on that pitch, sir. That's not what we're about." And that got a response. You don't get that. You don't get that response from the players anymore for interviews and this criticism. They just seem to get on with it now. They're just, it's inevitable. They'll get criticism regardless, but they don't care about it anymore.
Let's be honest. I think we all know that the problems at boardroom level and above they have transcended down onto performances on the pitch over the last few seasons. We can't deny it. And the problems with our recruitment, it's just not been right at all. And the managers that we've recruited as well, it's been one bad decision after another. I think we paid Harry Redknapp about £1 million just for the 8 games before we sacked him. It's just crazy decisions that are being made at boardroom level at this club. We're going to go nowhere as long as these decisions continually are being made.
Me and Dan said it last week, and it's right. We can't have a complete overhaul this summer. Our squad's too thin bare already. With all the players we've released and all the kids on the bench, it just goes to show the lack of depth in our squad. But I can tell you right now, the only player I'd want to keep is Jude Bellingham, and he's going. So for me, whereas before the lockdown, I was reading stories, Pedersen could be going to Watford in the summer instead, and Sunjic is going elsewhere, and you think to yourself, oh God, please don't sell these. They're our best players. Why do we always sell our best players? Whereas now, for me, you get an offer that matches the valuation, get rid of them. They don't want to be here. If they don't want to be here, I don't want them here. Let them go. Pedersen, completely unrecognisable from the Pedersen from the start of the season. Misplacing 10-yard passes. I'm sorry, mate. Preston are literally in a different coloured shirt to us. How are you getting it wrong?
I'm going to say something controversial right now because I know a lot of people like Pedersen. I've never rated him. I never rated him last season. I've been to a few games, watched him, and he's not capable of passing. He's not a passing sort of defender. He's a solid tackler. But again, lacks a little bit of pace, I think, for the top level. I was very, very surprised when I saw Watford had were interested. I don't know whether they were, it was 100%, but they were interested. I don't rate him. I don't think he's a Premier League defender at all. I do believe that we can get more out of him at the moment, 100%, like you've just alluded to. I think we can definitely get more out of him. I think the right coach can get a lot more out of him. But
I think he's got good points at that point. I think his positioning is very poor. Especially, defensively, he's very rarely in position. Again, you've seen it. Charlton's goal, Harley Dean, whatever fans say he was doing, he was playing trying to play an offside trap. He was trying to get that man. Pedersen didn't cover himself in glory there. Now, if he is that Premier League left back that everyone says he could be, he should be doing better from that. And no one expects better from Harley Dean in a sense. He's been very poor all season, but Pedersen hadn't. So it's easy to demand more from a player that is capable of more. Yet everyone seems to keep quiet on Pedersen. Everyone's obviously got agendas against a certain player at the minute. I'm not saying rightly or wrongly whether, for example, Harley Dean is. I don't really rate him anymore. He's not. He seems to be a shadow of the player he was when we first signed him, and he had a bit of fight about him. But you can't just single out one player every week and every game. If people are making mistakes, it's across the board. It's not just Dean making all these mistakes. It's Pedersen's not in position. Colin just can't be bothered anymore. He keeps wandering off. I don't know where he's going half the time because he doesn't do anything up the pitch either. And Harding should get a lot more slack than what I've seen for his performance at Stoke. Yes, he was out of position. He's not a left-sided player. He's a right-sided player. He definitely shouldn't be playing wing-back. He's a full-back at most. Sunjic, Gardner, he scored a couple of important goals, but what else has he done? What's he contributed, really? Hogan, shocking. Absolutely shocking since the restart. That penalty miss and rebound just really compiles the misery in terms of how bad he's actually been for us. He doesn't seem to have an idea. Whenever he picks the ball up, he just turns around on the spot and plays it out to whoever's nearest to him. As if he doesn't want it. He doesn't have an idea. He doesn't think he can make a difference. But all these other players are getting away with it. And Dean doesn't. And then he comes out and does his interview against Stoke, and then literally has a decent-ish game against Charlton. Yeah, he makes the mistake for the goal. Doesn't get punished for it, considering we get the point. Or again yesterday against Preston, all of a sudden everyone's back on his case. But it's not. You can't help. You're not going to help the player or make him want to improve by making him the target for every single issue we've got. Flog them all. Flog them all. That's my opinion.
You covered it quite well there.
I suggest I'm fed up of it. I'm going to find myself a sport that's better suited to me, I think. Individual sports.
Oh, don't. I mean, I think if we somehow manage to survive on Wednesday, just going forward, obviously, I hope there's a couple of changes above management's head. But in terms of the manager, like, who are we thinking? If, like, obviously, if we survive,
I think there's no point Blues fans even mentioning Kieran or Jokanovic anymore. I know we was all optimistic at the start. There's no point in us mentioning them because they're not stupid. They wouldn't go anywhere near this job. Nowhere near it. And you do bring, even if you do bring Kieran or Jokanovic in, their transfer targets ain't going to want to come to us. Phone up whoever, Jokanovic, say for example, he wants some of his old Fulham boys in, the likes of whoever. Let's just go for a long shot and say we fork out a load of money for Johansson in midfield.
Yeah.
And you phone, Johansson, I've just took over at a new club in the Championship wanting to come in. Oh yeah, where? Birmingham. No, you're all right. You're in that club that's in a relegation battle 5 out of the last 6 years on the last day. That team that's, probably by the time this new season starts, 14 games without a win. Don't even know if the manager we've got makes the decisions himself or whether that's above his head half the time. Why would anyone with any common sense come anywhere near this club?
Yeah, I was at the start. I made it quite clear that Christian would have been the dream manager for us, but and I only seen that happening with being promised that the Bellingham money would go back into the squad, but B, I wanted to finish off this since we restarted. I just wanted to show the next manager that they had something to work with, but now it's like, whoever comes in will have a big job at getting the confidence and team back on side. Hopefully they do, and B, then bringing in signings, because it's not your normal summer break, is it? It's about 6 weeks till it gets started, and I presume they'll have about 2 weeks off, and then it's 4 weeks till the season starts, and they've got to get straight into it. But so for me, the manager at first, I was a bit 50-50 on him because I know he's got a connection with the club, but now I'm settled for it, and I would take Lee Bowyer because I know one thing for certain is that we'd probably at least fight.
I think Bowyer's your best bet. I think he's the best choice of what would realistically consider, because he's in the same situation with Charlton, really, isn't he? They're changing ownership more than I changed my bloody underwear, and they're in a real. They always have problems off the pitch at Charlton, don't they? So he's been there and done it. He's worked through that. So, you can kind of put that issue to bed, so to speak. And I think we have got more money and a better squad if we can get the right tune out of them. We've got a better squad than Charlton have. So I think he'd take the job, but providing we stay in the Championship anyway, because I think if we don't stay up, it's in Charlton's place.
Yeah, we wouldn't get in, would we, if we went down? And to be honest, even if they end up being the team that goes down, I think whatever happens this season, he's done it. I know I was saying I was 50-50 about him because obviously the likes of Houghton and Jokanovic get mentioned. But you can't take away the job he's done at Charlton, can you? Really, he's done a great job for them. He didn't even want to be a manager at first. To be honest, a year at Blues, he'll probably be thinking like that again. But I think he's done a great job, and it would remind me of like a Gary Rowett appointment, someone who would, play dogged football if the board allow him to, and get us fighting back up the table, and hopefully getting more out of them what we thought, more out of the team than what other people have been able to.
What about you anyway, Elliot? Who do you think should be manager then?
Similar opinion. I would go for Lee Bowyer or Paul Cook. I think that's the sort of situation we're in at the moment. I said a few weeks ago, I don't think we're not in a position next season to be challenging in sort of around the top 6. So there's no point in going for a Chris Hughton or Joe Kanovich and chucking more money at it. I do believe they would be probably our 2 best options right now.
Interesting one.
That are...
It's an interesting one with Paul Cook is, if Wigan don't get the points deduction this season, if it gets put back or cancelled, would he then still want to take the Blues job? Considering how Wigan have ended this season. I know they're going to have to do a fire sale with most of their players.
As far as I know, Wigan have got to... They're not accept, but they've got to consider any sort of money basically coming into the club. That's the position they're in at the moment. So if Blues were to go to Wigan and say, look, we'll give you £500,000 for your manager, they're pretty much in a position where they probably will have to accept it. So at the moment at Wigan, I think it's pretty much like a fire, just a fire sale at the moment.
It's like Sports Direct, isn't it? Liquidation sale.
Basically, so we could get a clearance manager, couldn't we? So that'd be all right, on the cheap. But Paul Cook would be good. In terms of where we're at, if we do survive on Wednesday, we've got to take small steps to get to where we want to get to, which is challenging again in this division. And we're not going to do it overnight, which is next season. We're going to have to get to the point where we've got to aim to finish 12th next season and away from comfortable, basically. That's the next aim. And I think someone like Paul Cook could do that. He'll come in, he'll motivate players. He's probably not going to be the most tactically astute manager we've ever had, but I think he'll come in and get results. And that's basically what we need. We just need someone to come in and get results. We're not getting promoted next season. We need to get a team together, first of all. And
promoted from the Championship anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, but, that's my opinion. I think everyone's kind of starting to get onto the same page now. And supporters wise, I think people are starting to actually now realise where we are, the problems we've got. Boardroom level as well, and on the pitch. And are starting to think, actually, I think we do need a manager that's just going to come in and steady the ship. And it's not Chris Hughton, I'm afraid, because he'll come in and want to spend money. He'll want to get promoted. And we're not in that position to do that. So, it's a rebuild job next season. It's, steady the ship, I'm afraid.
Yeah, definitely. Well, lads, that's all we've got time for today anyway. Thank God, before any of us absolutely lose it. But we're back next week with the last recording of the season. So hopefully we'll
survival party.
Yeah, the survival party. Hopefully we'll have a positive podcast next week for a change. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? But yeah, thanks both for joining me anyway on this episode.
No trouble.
No worries.
Send us your questions on the socials, Twitter and Instagram at BluesFocusPod. Touch base with them next week. Have a good week, Blue Noses.